Thanks for joining into this session of Kodiak Hub Embark, our third episode of the three-part demo series for a live product demo. Looking forward to getting into the session today, focusing primarily on how our solution can be able to help businesses to drive supplier performance, unlocking the real and full potential from your supplier partnerships. You notice, of course, I say partnerships rather than suppliers because it's important that we move beyond the focus on risk and compliance to a focus on driving collaboration and innovation. And we'll talk a little bit more about that cooperative approach that we're focused on helping businesses to be able to achieve with their suppliers during today's session. We'll wait one more moment just as we allow the last guests to be able to follow in. I could be able to start maybe by introducing myself a little bit. Today, I'm in the facet of a SRM expert advisor. So I'll do my best to advise you guys along the journey of bettering the performance of your supplier base. And welcome everybody to today's session. Again, this is the third and the final of our three-part series. If you're interested in some of the other episodes, then feel free to check those out on YouTube. I know that they have been released there, so you could be able to check out some of those aspects where we've demonstrated during the last two sessions the importance of supplier information management and turning that information into actionable insights to be able to drive improvements and impact in your supply chain. And additionally, how enhanced tooling for collaboration, which we demonstrated during episode 2, can be able to aid your team to orchestrate internal and external processes to enhance internal and external collaboration with suppliers and within your team. This week, we'll be delving into supplier performance and how you can drive supplier performance, really truly unlocking the potential of your supplier partnerships. My name is Sam Jenks, as mentioned, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at the business. I'll be your host for today's webinar. And in addition, I am joined by my co-host, somebody that typically joins in on these sessions, Charlie, the office dog. I am sending from my apartment at the moment, so he's not in the office, but he is my dog. So if you hear a bark in the background, he might possibly and unfortunately be just adding his opinion for today's session. So don't be alarmed. With that being said, he can be opinionated, especially if the mailman decides to come by. We're very happy to see a blend of existing customers, consultants, prospective partners, as well as then also interested parties during today's Embark demo. And I'm sure that some of you know who Kodiak Hub is, but in short, if you don't know about us, Kodiak Hub is a best-of-breed cloud-based solution for supplier relationship management, focused on helping procurement and sourcing teams globally, alongside of risk compliance, quality and sustainability teams, to be able to build smarter and also more sustainable supplier relationships. The solution provides an ecosystem of tooling to be able to help manage information, data, documentation, risk, compliance, performance, and collaboration, all from one simple hub and underneath the same roof. During the course of today's webinar, of course, you will be put further in touch with understanding more about our solution, as well as how our solution can help you to be able to get closer to the pulse of your supply chain and driving, of course, those relationships forward with your suppliers, turning your supplier partnerships into a competitive advantage as well. So with that said, let's get on to the agenda for today's webinar. The modern state of procurement is where we're going to start, understanding the importance of supplier performance, getting in then to the benefits of SRM, following up with the 4 steps that we believe are important to follow up on in order to measure supplier performance, landing in a demo of Kodiak Hub's SRM platform, how to drive supplier performance and unlock the potential of your partnerships. Finally, then finishing the session today with a Q&A. If you have questions during today's session, please do not be hesitant to just add those into the chat bubble, and we'll get around to those during the end of the session when we get to the Q&A. The bottom line is in 2024, your team has new expectations, new challenges, right? And this requires improved supplier performance, just like sales, somebody in my role, right? We're always going to be measured on revenue and growth. Procurement, even though it's traditional roles and expectations, will always be measured on cost reduction and risk mitigation. This is a fact. Don't get me wrong, right? By showing this particular slide, cost is still king in procurement, and targets on savings are equally as relevant in 2024 as they were in 2004, excuse me. With that being said, the expectations on your procurement, sourcing, quality, risk, compliance, sustainability teams have continued to grow, right? Far and wide beyond savings. Procurement is now responsible for serving as the tip of the spear in a business's effort to create supply chain transparency, create a more resilient supply chain, and reducing disruptions, as well as driving forward innovation and impact within the global supply chain. The bottom line is that you're not alone, right? There is tooling out there can be able to help you address these three different pillars, these new and emerging challenges. And I think that SRM is the place to start, the place to be able to unlock the potential that exists within your supplier relationships. Seen on screen here are just a few of those benefits that you can see. Operational savings for faster onboarding and qualification, or gathering of information and documentation. Obviously, that's going to reduce the amount of manual tasks, helping your team save time. But there's also a lot of other aspects related to more tactical or strategic gains, helping your teams to be able to get 360-degree views, but also to visualize, different types of insights faster, so you and your team are ready to react in a quicker manner. SRM is really critical in today's climate. And this you guys all know, and I'm guessing that's why you're joining into today's session, but I think it'll become a little bit more concrete today. This is a model that we love to use and show at Kodiak Hub as to kind of the stepping stones that are necessary to be able to drive impact within a global supply chain. Understanding that this is broken down really into three main sectors: operational wins, tactical aspects of supplier management, and then finally the strategic aspects as well. During session 1, as well as elements of session 2 of this Embark series of 3 episodes, we covered a lot of the aspects related to the more operational and tactical areas of supplier relationship management, how to focus on managing information, risk, compliance, and to ensure, of course, to know who you're buying from. Moving up the pyramid, strategic tasks of supplier management are really helping you to be able to focus on why you buy from those suppliers that you buy from, right? But without, of course, having those first elements in place, the foundation, it's pretty hard for a business to be able to develop beyond operational or tactical focuses as well. As we all know, you can't manage what you can't measure. And it's important that we're not just trusting in our supplier relationships, but we're also understanding, are they delivering real value? And also, what is the potential that lies within those supplier relationships as well? To ensure that you're able to find potential, to know where it is, but also what you can improve upon, spotting the risks and the opportunities. Well, you need to be able to focus in on evaluating performance to be able to drive and, of course, improve performance. With that being said, we wanted to offer a few steps that we think are important, 4 steps to ensuring that you're able to drive supplier performance. Step number 1, align on the KPIs within your team, but also together with suppliers. Ensure that they understand that a wide set of criteria is going to be focused upon. These are just 6 of the areas that we at Kodiak Hub believe are important, and our clients are following up with their supply chain based upon. These then are things such as supply chain and delivery, quality, commercial performance, collaboration, innovation, as well as then sustainability, meaning, of course, real output of sustainability, so the actual impact of people and planet as well. One layer down, the focus is, of course, for these to land in sub-parameters, whereas then the unique attributes below those are kind of the individual KPIs that you want to continue to roll up things towards. Now for the magic, adopting a rating methodology. This lies at the core of our solution, and we believe that it's important to be able to really measure your suppliers within various areas. The rating methodology allows you and your team to be able to follow up on these parameters, both quantitative as well as qualitative aspects, and put a numerical value to it. Again, you can't manage what you can't measure. The rating methodology allows you to measure these particular aspects. The rating methodology also helps you to visualize where is a supplier doing well, where are they doing poorly, and where can they improve. This allows you and your team to be able to be proactive rather than reactive. And when you are being reactive to, for example, an issue within the supply chain or quality, performance, or alike, it's going to help you also not just to be able to address that need, but to address it narrowly at the right time in a timely fashion, not having to look around through various spreadsheets to find data. The rating methodology pushes you towards the insight that you need to know. Step 3, capturing the correct data. Our platform is focused on helping our teams that are using our platform to capture not only hard data, but also the soft facts. It's important to focus in on APIs to your existing data solutions. For example, your ERP, your S2P solution, quality solutions, where hard and quantitative performance data sits. Quality on PPM, for example, complaints, claims, as well as then things such as like on-time delivery and alike. With that being said, there are certain aspects that you're going to require feedback based upon. Internal feedback from internal stakeholders that are working with suppliers, collaborating alongside of them, that can judge their innovation, their collaboration, right? Their engagement in the relationship. What is the response times whenever we're trying to address an issue with a supplier, right? How willing are they to innovate together with us? These are the types of questions that we can help to ask, as well as the supplier themselves for data maybe that we can't be able to capture ourselves, related back possibly to elements such as output on sustainability, right? What is your water waste levels or your consumption of energy during this past quarter? These 3 triangulate the hard and soft data facts, aggregating up to help our users get a clearer and simpler view of performance. And our performance evaluation tool helps our clients to be able to do this very quickly as well. Step 4, monitor, improve. The bottom line is that you can't manage what you can't measure, but what you are measuring, you better be managing. The bottom line is that if you're looking to improve on supplier performance and drive supplier performance, you need to make sure that you're adopting this rating methodology to help you to be able to spot trends over time to see, is a supplier improving or are they not? And if they're not, you better be addressing it with them as well. This allows you guys to be able to quantify some of those more qualitative aspects of the supplier relationship, putting your partnerships in focus, also helping you, of course, to be able to get the most potential out of your partners as well. Following the 4 steps will help you and your teams to be able to transform your supplier relationships, we hope at least. And that transformation that we're helping our clients primarily to make is from a transactional one to a more transformational one, from a perspective of only focusing on compliance to focusing on collaboration. This requires that you yourself also are able to identify your best performing suppliers. And this is what the evaluation of performance parameters, those 4 steps, is helping you and your team to be able to do. But beyond that, a partnership is not a one-way street. You need to be able to make sure that you are the customer that they know, like, and trust, and that you're forging forward those strategic partnerships, focusing on innovating and winning together. You can rely on and lean in on them, right? But they better be able to make sure that they can lean back on you as well. That's where true partnership is going to be able to really deliver its full potential. During this 3-part series, we've now kind of walked through how we can help to orchestrate this symphony of simplicity, helping you and your team to go from manual to magnificent, utilizing the various tools that we have in our platform to be able to screen risk, assess your suppliers and qualify them, review and address particular needs, audit, improve, as well as then drive performance. moving from compliance to collaboration and cooperation. Our focus is really here to be able to inspire you guys, right? And when good tooling and good process align, great things can happen as well. Moving your relationships from transactional to transformational is not an easy task. It requires, again, a buy-in from your team and good process alongside a good tooling. Speaking of such, I'd like to now demonstrate how coordinated performance evaluation can be able to help you get the most out of your suppliers and drive forward performance, unlocking the true potential of your partnerships. Before we get into a demo of the platform, there's a lot that we're not going to be able to cover during today's session. So I want to ask, if you're interested, feel free to book a demo directly in the link that is on screen now. You can click on the button, which is to book a demonstration. And please feel free to find some time that works for you as well. I'll now get into my direct demonstration of the platform. So to reiterate a bit there, the three main pillars: insights, that's where you have insights and information, data, documentation about your suppliers, products and services, as well as then also your contracts. Impact, where you're going to be able to impact the relationship, managing self-assessments, audits, evaluations, as well as then actions. The action space is something that we're going to double down on and dive deeper into today. And we'll also then brief upon some of the aspects related to the evaluations capability. And then the last tab is the intelligence tab. Intelligence is where you're going to be able to dig deeper into information about the broader supplier base as you see fit. This particular overviews that you see are then based upon the reports that you want to be able to build up. So we'll give the solution just a second to be able to load here and load some of the dashboards. The intelligence section is where I would say a lot of the journeys of our users that are looking to drive performance start. Why? Is because it's where you can be able to quickly spot the potential of your partnerships. These dashboards, as you see here, you can be able to build up with various reports. What we also see is that there's the opportunity to be able to dive into shared reports. Just in the same way in the top left-hand corner that I've toggled on or off, that these reports will be shared with others in my organization. Various tabs can be built up for these individual reports. New reports can be able to be created. We can always save or create different widgets within this report. Those widgets that we use, we can be able to expand upon. As we see, there's filtering capability around the solution. So we can be able to make sure that we're filtering based upon the category or type or segment of supplier that we're interested in looking deeper into. For example, say that I want to be able to just filter one particular chart. Well, then I can also be able to do that. So let's say that I want to look at one particular segment of suppliers rather than looking at the segment I'm looking at, or I can continue to add to that segment or adjust that segment. Well, then I can be able to do so. And we see that the charts update directly. What this also allows me to do is to be able to utilize the rating methodology to quickly spot suppliers that are risk suppliers and or suppliers that are in higher performing categories as well. Other widgets allow us to be able to see rating history over time, value progression, but not just for a single supplier, but also for a grouping of suppliers as well. So we can be able to see moments in time, quarter by quarter, how our supplier base is improving. Things like the plot charts for correlations allows us to be able to plot the management capabilities contra the real output. So this is a perfect example of how performance can be able to be aligned with compliance, helping you to be able to drive a more collaborative relationship. This is then giving us a plot chart saying that, well, the supplier, for example, believes that they are 100% of quality management based upon their self-assessment and maybe documentation that they've shared. But we're starting to see that there's dips in their performance in that case as well, that they have a lower actual output and performance. That's maybe a reason for us to be able to dive deeper into that relationship and address that relationship as well. We can compare and contrast suppliers against each other, benchmarking to be able to see who's doing well or who's doing poorly in particular areas that might be important for us to follow up on. We can also be able to, of course, have classic kind of overviews of documentation. So for example, if I want to see active contracts or those that have expired, well, then with the click of a button, I can be able to find those just as I can with different types of compliance documentation. Top and bottom performers allows me to very quickly see who are my suppliers that are working the best, whereas those that maybe need to also improve. This might be something, of course, that I take into consideration. Maybe if I'm looking to work on a new project where I need real precision and quality, well, then with a click of a button, I can pull forward my top performing quality suppliers, whereas I can pull forward also those that are bottom performers. I can also utilize the pivot table capability to plot supplier data. In that case, I can be able to plot the supplier data in various ways, shapes, and forms related back to performance, for example. This is an example where we're plotting supplier data, which is the performance of the quality versus the performance of the commercial aspects of this relationship, plotted on the X and Y axis. Driving then the size of the bubble is the spend level that we have with the supplier. So data in, data out. We have various visualization tools to be able to help spot these things. Understanding, well, there's a pretty large bubble here, meaning that we are spending a high volume with this particular supplier, although they have a low quality and commercial performance. Maybe if we can be able to identify another supplier in the same category that is further up in this particular plot, maybe it's a reason for us to look at that as an alternative line of supply, for example. Just a few applications of the intelligence section where our users are able to spot performance trends and be able to utilize those to address the relationship. Directly from anywhere around the solution where there's reports, you can, of course, dive directly into a supplier scorecard. The supplier scorecard, we've done quite a bit of demoing of, and if you want a deeper demonstration of the platform, then of course, do make sure to book a demonstration because we're not going to be able to cover this all today. With that being said, this is where you have your control center. It's the holy grail. It's where you have your information, data, documentation. It's where you have the relationship related to this supplier, the risk insights related back to the country risks, the compliance or risk profile related back to that individual supplier, as well as then the performance of this particular supplier and real output. On the right-hand side of the screen, we also have media, sanctions, and politically exposed persons, as well as then financial results. If we focus in on the left-hand side of the screen, understanding the performance of this particular supplier, we see up here that there's been 5 performance evaluations, which is then giving us an aggregated score in these different areas. We can also be able to find the individual performance evaluations at any point in time by choosing those particular historical evaluations. These evaluations, as you see here, can be aggregations. So there was an evaluation in Q3 where 2 different stakeholders responded. Those stakeholders had somewhat aligned views. With that being said, they maybe had a bit of differing views on the supplier's performance. We can dive directly in from this interface to better understand why the supplier has received the response that they have of performance in these different areas. What we can also recognize is that the rating methodology helps us to quickly aggregate views of performance based upon predetermined thresholds, whether that's the input of hard numerical data, whether that's the input, though, also of items that are multiple choice, or related back, for example, to things that are more qualitative aspects of the relationship as well. What we see by the red box around here is that the rating methodology also allows us to be able to spot where there's risks. Very quickly, we can be able to quickly see that this particular line item is an issue. It's something that we have then flagged because this falls below or above our threshold. It will then allow a user to be able to get a notification and be able to address that particular issue directly with that supplier if need be. If we circle back to the scorecard, again, the aggregation helps us to be able to quickly see all of the performance results. The aggregated view of this performance, we can see first. Diving into that, we can see where the supplier is doing well and or doing poorly. And then we can dive one step even deeper if we would like to better understand these individual KPIs. All of the individual KPIs that sit underneath a supplier, we can be able to, of course, follow up with in more depth. So if I give this a quick refresh. can be able to see the spots trends on these particular items, and we can be able to see trends of the individual supplier as well. Here, then, we start seeing, is the supplier getting better or getting worse within the different areas that are related to performance, for example. Say that we start seeing dipping performance on the supplier. Well, we can, of course, be able to take action with them. Again, moving the relationship from being just one focused on risk and compliance to one focused more so on cooperation, collaboration, improvement as well. So I can always be able to issue new actions from here. Actions are then where we are going to have ongoing communication with the supplier. I can find those actions very quickly based upon the search. I can also utilize the action type functionality to quickly find different actions based upon their typification or, for example, their status as well. Directly from here, I can also be able to add a new and or start a new action. I can also be able to jump into an ongoing action as I see fit. And directly in these actions, I can be able to see the communication that is ongoing with a supplier. This is the action that has been then designated for this particular supplier, documents that have been shared, and any type of communication that's going back and forth between us and the supplier. The supplier is able to enter into this interface just like any internal stakeholders or supplier stakeholders that are asked to evaluate themselves or to evaluate a supplier via smart links that they receive in their email, which reduces the threshold to response, making data capturing and responses to questions very simple. It also keeps all the communication in one interface, all the shared documentation as well in one interface, and any of the documentation that is shared with you by the supplier is directly then going to be reposited so you can find any of those documents, whether they're commercial, compliance, or product and service documents, directly linked back to that individual supplier in the scorecard, as well as then we can be able to find any and all communication that's been ongoing with that supplier directly in the action space as well. Keeping everything in one place, giving us the tools that we need to be able to spot the potential in our partnerships, but also to, of course, be able to drive forward that potential in our partnerships as well. Ensuring that you're able to move beyond compliance and risk, but also to start driving cooperation and collaboration with your best suppliers over time. There's a lot more, of course, to show in the platform related back again to those items that we've demoed prior. Items related back to, for example, supplier information management, risk management, compliance, and alike. And if you'd like to, again, please do feel free to book a demonstration by clicking on the call to action, which is then on screen now. Find some time that works for you there, and you can be able to directly jump in to a calendar link so you can sort it out with your matching schedule. Thank you all for taking the time to attend. We're going to now shift over to the Q&A part of this session, and I see that there's a few different Q&A questions that have come in. So we're going to just take a moment and allow people to be able to schedule a meeting if you'd like to. And additionally, then we're going to get into the Q&A. All righty. I see a few different questions that have now been popped into the question line. Could start from the top here. I believe that this is the first question that's came in. How the sources of performance parameters are captured. So again, we have an evaluation tool on our platform. The performance evaluation tool allows our clients to be able to capture that data from internal stakeholders, as well as supplier stakeholders if needed. And when it comes to the hard data, you can be able to have, of course, API integrations with an ERP solution, a quality solution, or alike, which is pushing and pulling data, ensuring that, of course, that's always keeping the most recent performance data up to date, related back to quality or commercial, or, for example, supply chain delivery performance. And of course, those can be fed directly into thresholds that are predetermined as well by the user. That is what's then resulting in the overall rating in those particular areas and on those particular KPIs. Great. So I hope that that answers that question. The country risk and credit info. No, this is not something you have to add yourself. The credit rating, for example, can be licensed directly through us. We have a preferred partner. And the country risk is something that is actually developed by our team of impact data managers. The safe source rating that you saw on screen is a proprietary rating. So that's built up based upon 39 internationally recognized indices, making then a common average across the globe for different countries. And those 39 indices can all be drilled down into, but they are then filling into 8 different areas, as you saw within the demonstration as well. Those 8 different areas are related back to social, environmental, geopolitical, and financial areas. So it's human rights, labor rights, environmental performance, the business ethics and anti-corruption, political stability, rule of law, as well as then tradability and economic stability. Those particular data sources are then things like the UN, World Bank, Fitch Ratings, ILO, and many other trusted sources as well. So I see that the last question, Vinod, are the KPI related questions customizable based on different types of service example? Yes, of course, as are the rating methodology. So you can be able to apply particular rating schemes to particular types of suppliers in the same way that you can be able to determine, well, these KPIs are important for this type of supplier and or not for that. A perfect example of that would be for one category of suppliers, for example, that are within logistics. Well, maybe those logistics suppliers I value, for example, delivery and supply chain performance and sustainability performance because of emissions, for example, higher. Whereas for suppliers that are a raw material supplier, well, maybe I value quality the highest, right? To ensure that we're not getting defect products shipped to us, for example. So there's absolutely the capability to be able to do that. Just like, for example, if it's in an IT or an indirect category, such as software testing or software development, well, then you can be able to shift those particular questions for that particular peer group in that case. It's the same thing that our customers do today. For example, like some of our clients are using the platform equally for their raw material suppliers as they are for their marketing suppliers as well. So that's the way that the solution is able to be malleable, both within the KPI configuration, but also within the rating methodology to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges when you're getting back responses as well. Seems as if all of the questions have been answered. There is one last one that it seems like has come in here now. Did the application have a capability to read the contract and find key obligations? So we don't currently have any of the CLM capabilities of like natural language processing. There are CLM solutions out there. So absolutely, I think that it's important that you check those out. With that being said, of course, we could feed those particular items on the SLAs that you have in place directly into the thresholds in the KPI management and the performance evaluation as well. So if you have the hard data pulled out in a format, then of course we could be able to feed that into the thresholds as well. And if you're interested in learning more, then please do make sure to be able to go ahead and schedule a meeting. I see that there's a question about are documents provided by suppliers or us that are retained and downloadable? Yeah, absolutely. So you can at any point in time go into scorecard, download all the documents and or download a single document based upon the type of document that it might be. So that's a very basic and easy capability of the solution as well, to be able to make sure that, of course, an ISO document isn't a picture of somebody's cat in that case. We are also currently training up an ML algorithm, which is helping our clients to be able to quickly spot, is a, for example, ISO document or policy actually an ISO document or a policy? And that's got an 87% hit rate currently with the customers that are testing that in a beta format as well. Great. Any other questions or concerns? Feel free to put them into the chat line now. So the financial background, the data from a country perspective is sourced from things like the World Bank and other types of sources. Additionally, then, of course, Fitch ratings for the country economic rating, as well as then the economic stability is, again, sourced from various indices, ILO and alike. When it comes to the financial credit score, that data is coming from our third-party partner and preferred partner, which is Mode Finance. So based upon the input of a VAT or company registration number, you're spit out a credit score. They, of course, also have coverage outside of the EU and UK. With that being said, we can also integrate with other solutions, DNB, Credit Safe, for example, Rapid Ratings, and others. So that's also possible within the platform to be able to do those financial credit checks as well. Thank everybody so much for taking the time to be able to attend today's session. I will then now issue a handout of the session. So you could be able to download the slides that you saw if you're interested in grabbing those and utilizing them potentially to present further for your team, inspire maybe the team how to further drive supplier performance within your organization. Feel free to download those slides now. Everyone following this session will receive an email as well that will provide you with a direct link to the recording. And again, if you're interested in scheduling a meeting, feel free to do so now. And the CTA, I believe, is still on screen. If you haven't closed that particular call to action, then it's still there for you to be able to utilize. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time for today's session. And I wish you the best. If there's no other questions for the session, then we hope to see you at upcoming events. Keep your eyes peeled. We're always hosting webinars. We're going to probably run a new 3-part series very soon. So don't worry if you missed those first sessions. We'll be coming back around to a town near you very soon. And thank you so much for your time. Have a good rest of your day.